पाश्चात्य देशधारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna. So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 9 and text number 20. Travidyamama somapa bhuta papa yajnerištva swargatim prarthayante te punyam asadhya surendra lokam asnanti divyan divideva bhogan. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Those who study the Vedas and drink the Soma juice, seeking the heavenly planets, worship me indirectly. They take birth on the planet of Indra, where they enjoy godly delights. So here Krishna has been talking about the different kind of transcendentalists. First he spoke in text number 9.13 and 14. Uh, One type of transcendentalists, those who are called Mahatmas, the devotees. So the devotees they are engaged in direct devotional service. Satatam kirtayanto mam yatanta shraddha. Right. So that is their engagement. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Eva Kevalam, Kalau Nasteva, 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 Gadirannita. There is no other way, there is no other way. Uh, but just to chant the holy name, especially in this modern age. So this is called the direct action, direct devotional service. And Prabhupada gave the example of uh, getting into the lift versus taking the staircase. So this is direct devotional service. So Krishna spoke about them. And they are the Mahatmas, the great devotees of the Lord. This is one type of transcendentalist. And then 9.15, Krishna started talking about the another type of transcendentalist. There are three types of worshippers, basically. So one category is like the impersonalist, those who doesn't believe in the personal form of the Lord, and their goal is to ultimately go and merge into the Brahman, become one with God. So they're impersonalists. That is one category of transcendentalists. There is another category, those who worship the universal form, that nature is everything, universe is everything. So this is the category. And the third category is the demigod worshippers. They are not exactly can be said as the transcendentalist. They are more of like materialistic people, demigod worshippers, because their intention behind worship is the desires. They're driven by their desires for sense gratification. Of course, they follow the scriptures, but they follow the karma kanda section of the scriptures. Yam imam pushpitam vachan pravadanti vipashyitaha. So there's a lot of flowery language is there in the scriptures. If you do this, you will get this. You worship this devata, you will get these benefits. You can go to this planet and like that. And different, heavenly planets you can go and enjoy. So these demigod worshippers are in that category. They're driven by all this desire for sense gratification, and they figured out in the scriptures if worship this devata, do this, then probably you can enjoy in a different way. So here in this particular verse, uh, it has been explained that this category of people they follow Travidya Mama Soma Put Papa. So they read the scriptures. Travidya means the knowledge of the three Vedas. There is a title also. Many people use the title like Trivedi. So conventionally, they're supposed to uh, well versed with all the three Vedas or Chaturvedi, those who know the all the four Vedas or Dvivedi, at least two Vedas. So this is Trividya. So Trividya means they're supposed to familiar with all the three Vedas. But here, Prabhupada explains this Trividya is more of like referring to they follow this three different sections of the scriptures, namely as Karmakand, Jnanakand, and Upasana. So there are different sections are given in the scriptures for and different sets of people. So your scriptures are so vast and so many different categories of knowledge is there. The idea is to accommodate all sets of people. If there is only just one formula and there is only one instruction, like the final verdict of Bhagavad Gita, or the final conclusion message of Bhagavad Gita is Sarva Dharman Parityaja Mamekam Sharanam Braja. Krishna concludes that, okay, whatever I've spoken so far, you forget all of that. But what you should do is Sarva Dharman Parityaja Mam Ekam Sharanam Braja. Just complete surrender unto me. Yes, that is the highest and the final conclusive message of Bhagavad Gita. But now question is, how many are ready for complete surrender? So those who are not ready for complete surrender, then what is the option for them? There has to be, uh, you know, some option for them. So that is why Krishna, in the scriptures, says various sections are given, wherein based on your inclination, you can pick. So there is a karm kand, there is gyan kand, there is upasana kand. Karm kanda people are like this materialistic people. They are more interested. They read the scriptures, they follow the scriptures, but their interest is to adjust their material happiness, how to enhance their material pleasure, and all of that. So that is karma kanda section. That do this, do that, this worship, this yajna, this vrata, and all of that you do. And finally, the result of all of that, you can enjoy a more sense gratification. So this is karma kanda section, and then there is upasana kanda, the worship, in different demigods in different ways like that. So this is Trividya, uh, Somapa. So those who are interested in more of like sense gratification, then they follow this path, and then Somapa, they drink this Somrasa. So what is this Somrasa? We don't exactly have in this material world, uh, but this kind of description of this Somrasa is found in the scriptures, and all these heavenly uh, inhabitants, the heavenly denizens, they intake this Somrasa, this heavenly beverage. So what happens when somebody drinks this Somrasa? So two things happens. One thing is like, first of all, it is very, very nectarian. It is like the amrita, like very, very delicious, very tasty. And also by drinking this Somrasa, one becomes free from the sinful reactions. you know Put papa means papa means the sin, and then one becomes free from the sin. So people have their different kind of drinks here also in this material world, and unfortunately all these intoxicants like liquor, alcohol, and all of that. So people think that, oh, we can enjoy by drinking that, and with that idea they intoxicate, they take the drink, but instead, they become more and more implicated in sinful activities. Actually, it increases more of their tamoguna, this drink in this material world, and under the influence of tamoguna, they are more prone to commit sinful activities. So it is just opposite of somapa. The somrasa is when somebody drink the somrasa, it is very nectarian, and also it makes one free from the sinful tendencies. Pupta papaha. Versus here, somebody intoxicate, he commit more sins under the influence of that intoxication. So here this category of people has been explained. Travidya Soma Puta Papa, Travidya Mam Soma Paha. So they follow this kind of section, the Travidya. Wrongly they follow. Actually, the purpose of following the Travidya, the three Vedas, is the Vedasya Sarvar Aham Eva Vedyo Vedanta Krit Vedavid Eva Saham. So when somebody reads the scriptures, the Vedas especially, then the goal of the Vedas is, as Krishna confirms in the 15th chapter, that the purpose of reading all the scriptures is to understand me. So when somebody understand Krishna, then we understand also that we are part and parcel of Krishna. Krishna is our Supreme Father, and our constitutional position, our constitutional constructed to as being a part and parcel, we should be serving Krishna. So that is the goal of all the scriptures. But here, this category of people, what has been described in this verse is Travidya. They are more interested in all this karma kand, gyan kand, upasana kand. They're not interested in Krishna. And when they do the karma kanda and upasana kanda, when they worship the demigods, so the worship of demigod is not driven by uh, much devotion. There might be some devotion, but it is all Mishra Bhakti. The devotion is also for some uh, benefit, something they get in turn. They know that if I worship this Devata in this particular way, then I'll get this benefits, this result. So that is how people are driven by that. But that is not the purpose of the Vedas. The real purpose of the Vedas is to come to the level of understanding Krishna. That Krishna is our Supreme Father, Ishvaraha Parama Krishna, Satchidananda Vigraha, Nadiradir Govinda, Sarva Karanam. That Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, cause of all causes, and we are Mamai Vamsho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. We are all part and parcel of Krishna, and as being the part, we should serve the whole. That is the goal. But they miss out the goal. So people, they are more interested in all this. Divideva Bhogan, as it is said in this verse, that when they do all this Travidya Mam, Soma Papa, Puta Papa, Somapa means drinking these beverages, they become free from the sins. So getting free from the sins is kind of a qualification which is required to elevate oneself to the higher planetary systems. Prabhupada gives the example of, like, somebody from, say, from India, somebody wants to come to America. So you need certain qualification, right? So that qualification is uh, the visa. You should have the approved visa. Without that visa, you might have a lot of money, you might have a lot of desire, but it doesn't make any difference. Unless you have the approved visa, you cannot enter into this country. In the same way, the qualification is one should become free from the sins. So more one become free from the sins, more one become purified, then more you become qualified to go higher and higher planets. So people, those who are desirous of going to the higher planets, Surendra Lokan, Indra Lokan, the heavenly planets, which is dominated by Indra Devata. So their pleasures are like heavenly pleasures we can't even imagine. It is simple. Like somebody who is living in some slum area, and there's no facility practically, like they don't even have the toilets, there's no bathroom, and there's no, it's like very low class living standard. Versus somebody lives in a very posh area, or high rise buildings with all the facilities and like that. And then, from one country they come to another country which is more advanced country like that. Then there's more standards of living, more facilities, good roads, good gardens, and then all kinds of facility and like that. So people are interested in those kind of heavenly planners. So they had to qualify themselves to transfer there. So that qualification is this. They first follow this Travidya, and also they drink the Somarasa. So by drinking this Somrasa, they first of all they become free from the sinful reactions, and they become qualified to go to the heavenly planets, and then there they can enjoy heavenly pleasures, like higher pleasures which we can't even imagine. And there's a long life, long duration of life. Here people, they take birth and at the max 100 years, which is also very hypothetical, especially in this modern age, but say 100 years. But there in the heavenly planets, one can enjoy for thousands of years and like that. So this is the interest. So they had to become free from this sins. But now we understand from this Krishna consciousness, yes, you have to follow all these rules, regulations, read the scriptures, and then drink this beverage, the somarasa, and all of that, and become free, and to transfer to other planet to enjoy. But Srila Prabhupada explains uh, in Krishna consciousness, if somebody follows the principles of Krishna consciousness as laid down by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and then propagated by Srila Prabhupada, if we follow that, then automatically all those things are achieved. One can very easily become free from the sinful reactions. All right. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. When we chant this Maha Mantra, in fact, the glories of the holy name is such that Patakam Pataki Nara. If somebody chants just one name of Krishna, one become free from the sins which one cannot even commit in one lifetime. That is the power of the holy name. That is the potency of the holy name. So, to become free from all the sinful reactions, one should take up this process of Krishna consciousness by chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, reading Bhagavad Gita, and following four regulative principles. And when we do that, then we can very easily become free from all those sinful reactions. And then, is the devotee interested in becoming free from the sinful reactions so that he can elevate himself, he can go to the heavenly planets? No, devotee is not interested in going to heavenly planets. But yes, to the degree we become more purified, we become free from all the sinful tendencies, sinful desires. To that degree, to that extent, to that proportion, we get more and more closer and closer to Krishna. We we desire more for Krishna. So that is the interest of the devotees. Devotee has no other interest in going to some any other planets for some heavenly planets pleasures, but only desire is to serve Krishna, and that is the goal of all this Traividya. And the goal of reading the scriptures is Vedasya Sarvar Aham Eva Vedyo, to know Krishna, to understand Krishna, and after understanding Krishna, we serve Krishna in loving devotional service. Right. So this is what is the understanding. And this worshipping the demigods, the devatas, all the process been explained. And this is Krishna says here that this is indirect. So worshipping Krishna is the direct action. Worshipping the demigod is the indirect action. It is also indirect worship of Krishna only. So question can be raised like why this kind of options are given. If these options were not there, then somebody probably would have taken the direct path. They would have surrendered to Krishna directly. But this is given because, as I explained, uh, that everybody is not ready to take the highest path, which is Krishna consciousness, Sarvadharman Parityaja. So that is why Krishna very intelligently, very smartly had devised, the scriptures by giving so many different options. That first somebody should come within the fold of Vedic literature, Vedic scriptures. You know, so they are much better those who follow the scriptures with the intention of sense gratification. They are much better than the atheist. Those who doesn't care about the scriptures, those who say that oh we don't believe in the scriptures. So they are much better than those who follow the scriptures, though they have. So that is why Krishna says, Akama sarva kamava moksha kama udaradi. With whatever intention you come, first come within the Vedic fold. Best is akama, selfless. That okay, my only intention is to serve Krishna, to please Krishna, the loving devotional service, that is the best. But if somebody is not on that level, then sarvakama. Sarvakama means somebody has a lot of desires. Oh, I want to enjoy in this way, that way. I want this, I want money, power, position. No problem. They go to God, they worship, they follow certain rules and regulations, follow some Vedic injunctions, you know, and all of that. So this is very intelligently it is designed that if somebody who's sarvakama, who has a lot of desire to enjoy, and who comes, uh, you know, to the to follow the injunctions, and they engage some priest, some priest will come and they'll perform some puja, some karma kanda, but then what happens when they do the karma kanda? The part of the karma kanda is they read something from the scriptures, they talk something from the scriptures, they chant something from the scriptures. So by all that process, one becomes gradually purified just by hearing, listening, and then there might be a possibility that some section of the scriptures in between, even within the karma kanda, that the real knowledge is being inserted. That ultimately one should surrender to Krishna. So there is a possibility has been created that while somebody is interested in sense gratification in karma kanda, but in that karma kanda section, somebody might hear or read something that okay, ultimately the goal of life is to surrender to the Supreme Lord, and that it might click to that person, right? So that is how Krishna has given all these options, the different, demigod worships and like that. This is the reason many times people say that why you people are like, say Krishna, 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 yato mat tato pat. Whatever you worship should be absolutely fine. Ultimately, the goal, the destination is one. You take any train. So that is not the right understanding. This is a little foolish to say that you got into any train and you reach the same destination. So the people say that you worship this devta, that devta, or this path or that path. Ultimately, you're going to the same destination. No, but that is not the right understanding. We are not reaching the same destination, a different destination, but it might be gradual progression. So as Prabhupada says, if you have the option to directly get into the lift, in the elevator, press one button and go to the topmost planet, topmost floor, then why don't you take that process, that path? So that is the path of Krishna consciousness. So other paths are like a supporting system, a gradual progression to ultimately bring one to Krishna consciousness, and that is why all this different kind of upasana and then demigod worships are given. So for the people, those who are interested in some kind of sense gratification. So akama sarva kama. The people, those who have done all kinds of sense gratification and they have understood, they got frustrated that so much enjoyment, so much we tried this way, that way, but nothing satisfies us. They come to that realization. Then still they won't understand that ultimately they have to surrender, but then they say, okay, no, there's no fun, there's no enjoyment, real enjoyment in sense gratification. So we want the mukti, and they become the moksha kama. Their goal is the liberation. They are impersonalist. So you see the different categories. Those who are non-believers, like atheistic people, then there's materialistic people, those are interested in sense gratification, worship the devatas, and follow all this karma kind of action. But after doing that sufficiently, then they get frustrated, then they become moksha kama. So they are impersonalist. But if these impersonalists and these people somehow by some good fortune they get in touch with a pure devotee, and that is when the door for the real path opens for them, and that is bhakti yoga. Right. So that is akama. Akama means the selfless service, the bhakti, the loving devotional service. So the people come ultimately. So that is why this different kind of paths has been described in the scriptures. But ultimately we understand from Krishna consciousness by reading Bhagavad Gita. Then the real goal is to surrender to Krishna. Sarvdharman Paritaja, Mamekam Sharanam Raja. And after surrendering, what to do? Engage in a loving devotional service to Krishna, and that is the real goal. And by serving Krishna, ultimately we reach the highest planet, not the heavenly planet. Devotees are not interested in the heavenly planets, even up to the Brahmaloka. Or Acharya says that Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Kirta Janma how Tabat Tubadas. So he says, if, oh my dear Lord, I pray to you that if in my next life I had to become Keet Janma, means if I had to become an insect, I am okay. So far I remain engaged in your devotional service. So devotee have no other desire than to serve Krishna, to please Krishna. He says, I'm okay to become even uh, an insect if I'm engaged in the seva. That is my pleasure. On the contrary, uh, if I become the Brahma, Brahma is like the topmost person in the entire creation in the material world, right? So I say if I become Brahma, but if I turn away from you, I forget you, then I don't want to become Brahma. So forget about heavenly planet. Devotees are not interested in the pleasures of Brahmalok, which is much, much higher than the heavenly pleasures. Brahma's life is like millions and billions of years. But devotee is not interested in all of that. Because the process of Krishna consciousness is serve Krishna, please Krishna by chanting Hare Krishna. And by that process, we can reach the highest destination, which is Goloka Vrindavan. Right? And once we reach there, then we never comes back here. Yat gatva narivardante tad dhamam paramam mama. That is Krishna's, promise that if you come back to me, you never return back to this material world. You can eternally live with Krishna. So that is the kind of proposal that Krishna is offering. So an intelligent person, a sane person should not settle down to anything less than going to Golok Vrindavan. Yes, there are a lot of fascination, all this Pushpita Vacham that you go to the heavenly planets and you enjoy heavenly themselves and long life and heavenly pleasures. Yes, there is a fascination, but we understand that it is nothing in compared to what Krishna is offering in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is saying that you come back to me and remain eternally. Sachidanand, like eternal bliss. So one should aspire for that. So devotees are not interested in going to all this Travidya, Somapa. and then doing all these yajna to swargatim pratyante, surendra lokam, going to the indra loka, and then enjoying the deva bhogan, the heavenly pleasures. No, they are not interested because they understand. In the next verse, Krishna will explain, Chine Punya Mritya Lokam Vishanti. Yes, you can go enjoy, yes, but it is all temporary. You have to come back again in this material world. So devotees are not interested in all these temporary pleasures. One should not be interested. That is why it is important that we read Bhagavad Gita, we understand the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, and then we understand that okay, the goal of life is not this temporary material sense gratification, but eternally situated in that goal of Vrindavan, in the association of Krishna, in the loving devotional service of Krishna, and then be blissful eternally. And that process has been explained by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the devotional service, the seva. And that begins with chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So this is the process. So these are some of the thoughts on this verse. Let me pause here and see if anybody has any question or any comment. You can unmute yourself and ask your question if you have any. If there's no question, we'll stop here. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.